Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this 8 a.m. meeting of the Police and Fire Committee. Vice Chair Johnson sitting in the chair for Chair Kelly. The hour of 8 a.m. having come and gone, the House Police and Fire Committee shall come to order. I do have two replacement letters, one from Leader Tony McCumbee, replacing permanent member Brad Stevens with temporary member Noreen Hammond, and a letter from Speaker Welch, replacing permanent member Michael Kelly with temporary member Barbara Hernandez. Clerk, please take the roll.
Johnson.
Here.
Cabello. Cochran. Gill. Guerrero Cuellar. Hanson.
Here.
Laha. Ortiz. Sheehan. Stewart. Tipsword. Williams. Hammond. Hernandez.
There are 13 members on the roll. Quorum is met. Today we will be hearing the following bills: House Bill 4645 Hirschauer, House Bill 4601 Syed, House Bill 4292 Hammond, House Bill 5253 Swanson, House Bill 1353 Schweizer, House Bill 4605 Kelly, and House Bill 5480. With that, I will be turning the chair over to Leader Stewart so I can present House Bill 4605 and 5480.
Thank you. What an honor. I think this is the first time I've got to chair this, one of the best committees in the House. The chair would like to recognize Vice Chair Johnson to present House Bill 4605 on behalf of Chair Kelly.
Thank you, Leader Stewart. I present before you House Bill 4605 on behalf of Representative Kelly. House Bill 4605 represents an ongoing discussion between the Capital Development Board and the National Fire Sprinkler Association to create a statewide online account that will, once completed, list all residential high-rise buildings that do not have sprinkler systems installed. This initiative is similar to a Minnesota law that is designed to help fire protection services and firefighters have as much information about its jurisdiction and the nearby surrounding communities to ensure that they have the proper knowledge and equipment when responding to building fires. The parties have been negotiating language on this bill for more than a year. The key changes from the bill last year include municipalities and counties only have to submit the information once and are afforded 2 years to provide the information to CDB. The bill provides liability protection for CDB regarding the accuracy of information provided and exempts Chicago as it maintains its own database. These changes ensure there is a very minimal cost to the Capital Development Board to implement this bill. I also understand 4605 is supported by all fire protection services and organizations that both CDP and IML continue to have. There still have some concerns. Should 4605 be approved today, I have a commitment by Rep. Kelly that he will hold the bill on second reading to continue the conversations. With that, I would like for the representatives from NSA, Kurt Fiedler from the National Fire Sprinkler Association, and Eric Olfer from the Northern Illinois Fire Sprinkler Advisory Board to provide more details and background on the bill. Thank you.
Before we go to testimony, I'd just like to put into the record, in terms of witness slips, there are 283 filed as proponents, 30 filed as opponents, and 1 filed as no position. Is it okay, Spokesperson Cabello, to waive reading those individually? Thank you. And can we please add Representative Ortiz to the roll? So please go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Eric Hofer. I'm the Executive Director of the Northern Illinois Fire Sprinkler Advisory Board. We're a fire safety group, education and advocacy, and we work alongside the fire service. The high-rise fire problem is a significant one. A fire in a residential high-rise building today becomes more tragic in mere minutes due to the fast-moving fires because the materials in the buildings today, petroleum-based plastics, burn hotter, burn faster than ever before, and this puts both residents and our firefighters at risk. It seems obvious that every high-rise should have fire sprinklers, but you'd be surprised to learn there are hundreds throughout the state that are not protected. They were built before codes required them in the 70s and 80s typically. In fact, for the 10-year period from 2014 to 2023, there were 856 high-rise fires in Illinois. Only 349 of those, 40%, had fire sprinkler protection. Many residents simply assume that they're living in a building with fire sprinkler protection, and they have no idea that there's no protection until the fire occurs. Smoke alarms are important. They give us early warning, but they're only giving us warning. They're not helping residents escape. These older high-rises rely on compartmentation, so that's the concept of holding a fire in the unit of origin. And what that does is it writes off the person in that unit and accepts them as a potential death. But unfortunately, compartmentation doesn't always work either. All it takes is a window breaking, a self-closing door to be propped open, or human error for that to fail. In 2012, 32-year-old Chantel McCoy got into an elevator that brought her to the fire floor. It was supposed to be a recalled elevator, stay at the ground floor, but it went up, and when she got to that floor, she was instantly killed. And that was all because a resident in that fire unit propped a door open to let their pets out. That's all it takes. Along with that fire death, 9 others were injured, including 2 firefighters. In 2023, 81-year-old Aura Louise Childs died in a fire that broke out of a window and climbed 10 stories up a residential high-rise. Along with that fire death, 9 others were injured, including 1 firefighter. In that fire, residents from 130 units were displaced for more than a year, and over 80 of those units continued to be displaced 2 years later. That same year, Lieutenant John Chorick died of a heart attack while climbing stairs to a 27th floor fire in another high-rise. Imagine climbing up 27 stairs with over 50 pounds of gear on your back when there's no elevators because they've been recalled. So when high-rises lack modern fire protection, they are high risk. And public housing puts most of our at-risk populations in them. We see a lot of public housing high-rises. So we're putting seniors and low income into these buildings and placing them high up where they can't be rescued and sometimes they can't get down. It's a challenging fire response for any fire department. We have to think of a residential high-rise as a horizontal neighborhood of homes turned upright and vertically into a single building. It's essentially hundreds of homes going up into the sky. So when a single fire occurs, a greater fire department response is automatically needed, and the fire can affect hundreds of residents. This House bill would establish a one-time state registry, and it would minus Chicago, and governments would have 2 years to submit the information. We chose Capital Development Board since it already collects the local government's municipal codes, building codes and residential codes. Therefore, we feel that this would have a minimal fiscal impact because it is a one-time list. This database will assist affected fire departments that have high-rises in their communities, both large and small, with better identifying these problematic buildings, better training and pre-planning for these types of incidents, and networking with other fire departments that may have similar buildings. Better public data can justify future fire department funding to be able to fight these fires and assist with planning for future fire protection upgrades in these buildings. Thank you for your time, and I ask you to consider this.
Thank you for your testimony. Did we have any other witnesses wishing to add to testimony? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody. I'll move to, do we have any questions from members of the committee? You do? Okay. Representative Laha is recognized.
I just have a quick question. Do we know if the DuPage mayors and managers or the South Suburban mayors have given any input on their position? It says they were waiting.
I have not seen any.
Maybe that's a question for the lead sponsor. This is coming back on second, so hopefully there'll be time for you to get that question answered.
Thank you.
Representative Tipsword is recognized.
Thank you. Why did we leave Chicago out of this? Seems like they've got the most high rises.
A few reasons. Number one, Chicago categorizes high rises differently than what the national standard is. So this we're going to consider 75 feet and above or 7 stories. The national standard is 75 feet. Chicago categorizes it 80 feet. Also, we have a great relationship with the Chicago Fire Department. We understand that they have about 600 plus high-rises, and we feel like we already have access to that information. So we're not concerned about getting that because we have it already.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions from members of the committee? There being no further debate, Representative Hansen moves that HB 4605 do pass. Do we have leave? I do want to remind members of the committee this is going to be held on second and come back with an amendment as per the lead sponsor. So clerk, can you please take the roll?
Johnson,
Yes.
Cabello,
No, until I see the amendment, and I do not like how we're not having Chicago in it with the rest of the state. We're picking winners and losers, and I think that's wrong.
Cochran. Yes. Gill. Yes. Guerrero Cuellar. Yes. Hanson.
Yes.
Laha. Yes. Ortiz. Yes. Sheehan. Yes. Stewart.
Yes.
Tipsord. Yes. Williams. Yes. Hammond. Yes. Hernandez.
Yes.
There being 12 votes in favor, 2 votes opposed, and none voting present, House Bill 4605 is declared passed and will be favorably reported to the House floor. Thank you, sir. We will move on to House Bill 5480 with House Committee Amendment 1. The chair would like to recognize Vice Chair Johnson to present House Bill 5480 on Chair Kelly's behalf. I understand there is an amendment to the bill. Would you like to adopt the amendment and proceed?
Yes, please.
Representative Guerrero Cuellar moves that the committee do adopt Committee Amendment 1 to House Bill 5480. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment is adopted. The chair would like to recognize Vice Chair Johnson to present House Bill 5480 as
We have a
amended.
second amendment coming in. Is- Thank you, Chair. House Bill 5480 directs the state fire marshal to investigate a fire in which is presumed to be a contributing factor in a death. The bill asked the state fire marshal to conduct an investigation alongside our local fire departments in the case of fire explosion. This is a practice that is already happening with OSFM and many departments across the state. The amendment was agreed upon language between OSFM and the Illinois Fire Chief Association. The bill also updates the name of the National Fire Incident Reporting System to its new name, National Emergency Response Information System. Laura Bedola, the liaison for the Office of State Fire Marshal, is here and is available for any questions.
Thank you. Looking at the witness slips, there are 9 filed as proponents, 1 filed as an opponent, and none with no position. The proponents are Cadence Smith from the Robbins Fire Department, Dale Smith representing self, Daniel Riordan with FPR Group, John McReynolds representing LaGrange Fire Department, Michael Brady self, Michael Nelson from Fox Lake Fire Protection District, Michael Talland self, Nick Pappas with Local 3022, and Thomas with University Park Fire Department. Opponent, Michael Brady, I guess, representing self. So with that, are there any questions from members of the, oh, we have testimony, so, or just for questions? Okay, are there questions from members of the committee? Representative Titsworth.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I haven't had a lot of time with this, so this may be redundant. I just want to make sure this has nothing to do with traffic crashes, a fire from a traffic crash, or an explosion from a traffic crash. These are structure fires.
This is for If a fatality, I'm sorry, Laura Bedola, Office of the State Fire Marshal, I'm Legislative Liaison. This would only be in the case of a fire or an explosion that resulted in a fatality.
But within a structure, nothing to do with vehicles.
I will have to come back with clarification on that.
Okay. So then, if this happens in a jurisdiction where the law enforcement agency has, say, an arson team or a fire team, who has jurisdiction here, the fire marshal or law enforcement? And let's go further and let's say it's determined quickly that it's a criminal case.
So the Office of the State Fire Marshal has been forming partnerships and relationships across the state with all of the fire departments. Again, this process is already happening in many of the municipalities across the state. So the fire department would contact the Office of the State Fire Marshal, and they would determine if there is a fatality. Then if that were the case, then the fire marshal's office would come in and work in collaboration with that fire department or the law enforcement agency.
Okay, and that was my question specifically for the law enforcement side. Who has jurisdiction here? Because oftentimes we know that fire marshals hours away, there could be a team on the ground that can easily handle the case. My question just is, who has jurisdiction, the fire marshal or the local law enforcement in a criminal case?
In a criminal case, I believe it would be the law enforcement agency, but I will definitely come back to clarify.
Okay, and I'm sorry, can I go back? Is this coming back on second to the committee? I apologize, or is this the final document?
We are continuing conversations. So I believe the sponsor had mentioned that he would hold on second.
And come back to the committee? He's not here though, so maybe we don't know that exactly. Okay, I appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah, Representative, I would say that I don't think that we can speak on behalf of Chair Kelly, but I think we all know and we trust that he wants to do good negotiations. And if he has something to bring back, he will, but we can't, there's not a commitment for that. I just want to make sure that's clear on the record. Are there any other questions from members of the committee? There being no further debate, Representative Cochran moves that House Bill 5480 do pass as amended. Do we have leave? Clerk, can you please take the roll?
Johnson?
Yes.
Cabello?
No until we see the amendment.
Cochran? Gill? Guerrero Cuellar? Hanson?
Yes.
Laha? Ortiz? Sheehan? Stewart? Tipsword?
I probably agree with the premise, but again, I would just like to see the final before so I'm a no for now, thank you.
Williams? Hammond?
Yes.
Hernandez?
There being 10 votes in favor, 3 votes opposed, and none voting present, House Bill 5480 is declared passed and will be favorably reported to the House floor. I'm going to put Johnson back in the chair.
Thank you, Leader Stewart. The chair recognizes Representative Hirschauer to present House Bill 4645.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee.
House Bill 4645, we spoke about in a little bit of depth last week. It's a bill to require that the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board to develop or approve a formal training program for law enforcement officers serving as juvenile officers, including mandatory continuing education. As I promised on the record several times last week I would do, I have had productive conversations with stakeholders since we left the committee. In an effort to increase transparency and find common ground, all stakeholders have received draft copies of the training standards that Aletsby intends to present to JCAR, and we are still discussing those standards. We have had conversations on this draft language to ensure that we are meeting concerns as best as possible. And yesterday we had a really great meeting where we have an agreed amendment that is being drafted by LRB right now. The amendment addresses concerns of grandfathering in current juvenile justice officers. We obviously do not have that language in front of you here today. So once again, I am asking the committee to pass this bill on second so we can hold it and bring back an agreed amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. We have 18 proponents. We have 10 opponents. I believe there's been some movement on this. Do I have, can I waive the reading of the opponents and proponents, spokesperson Cabello? Thank you very much. Are there any? Dave, did you want to testify?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of the committee. I want to, Dave Sullivan, on behalf of the Fraternal Order of Police, I want to thank Representative Hirschauer and Aletsby on their efforts to work with us. We do believe that they are hearing our concerns, and I come to you today asking you to please move this bill to second reading. We are very confident we will have an agreed-upon amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Do we have any questions from members of the committee? Representative Sheehan?
I guess just one quick one. I'm a juvenile officer that's done refresher courses. We do our police law updates. Why is this so necessary?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for the question. Primarily, this was identified by two different parties. One, Aletsby, particularly with our manager of in-service training that covers the specialized training, both SRO, LHI. So she had a lot of opportunity to view some of the deficiencies, if you will, in training and identify what officers needed in those areas. One particular was the juvenile area. In conjunction with that, it was also recognized through two different organizations who are the line officers and the immediate first line supervisors in the Juvenile Officers Association and the Illinois SRO Association. Both of them, their greatest concern was because there was so many officers not getting those updates and the changes that so often occur in juvenile law, there was grave concern with getting officers who clarify themselves as juvenile officers and serve juveniles across the state of Illinois to have adequate and competent ongoing training so that they could maintain a certain level of competency to serve that juvenile, their agency, and to mitigate as much as possible liability for both them and the agency.
Well, I guess that, wouldn't that be up to the department then, or the agency, to make sure that their juvenile officers are up to date with some of this stuff? So is it a failure on the local agencies that aren't, I guess, that weren't getting these juvenile officers up to date and up to speed on the changes to the Juvenile Act?
Before you answer, could we have the witness please identify himself?
I'm sorry, Paul Petty, Aletsby. I apologize, sir.
Thank you.
So to your question, yes, and I would identify much of the conversation with both the FOP and the Illinois Sheriff's Association and other members who may oppose this initially, and that is yes, to your answer, it does lie on the local offices and agencies or entities that have juvenile officers serving, but I also think it's a responsibility of both Aletsby and this body that when you identify that deficiency and you can't manage that agency, sometimes we have to put these types of standards in place to ensure for the protection of juveniles, for the protection of officers and their entities, certain standards must be in place to meet that need. And I hope that answers your question.
I agree. I guess my last question is, so current juvenile officers will be grandfathered in, and then they will have to complete some sort of update course? Is this an 8-hour course? Is this just a 1-hour police law update? And what's the plan moving forward to get those juvenile officers that have done the 40-hour class, that have done the updates, I guess up to speed with some of the new training?
So, as the representative said earlier, the negotiations, if you will, conversations between those agencies or opponents of this who are protecting also their members, that conversation is ongoing. What I can tell you from my Let's Be's perspective is that we have current updates, probably no less than 4-hour minimum, upward of 8 and even 16. It doesn't mean you have to take 16, but enough. What we've identified is that 4-hour block of instruction that we have produced by an attorney statewide annually. It's probably one of the most minimal and best practices we have in place now. Again, you aren't required to take that update. This is a step in the right direction to ensure that any officer wanting to claim themselves to be certified as a juvenile officer, having attended the 32-hour minimum requirement, it allows them the opportunity to continue to update themselves to ensure that they're getting any appropriate information that may be applied almost immediately that they may not be aware of.
Okay, so 4-hour minimum, but 16-hour total. So is that going to be a course online, or is that going to be in-person instruction?
I think during the course of the next year, as we get done with our conversations and come to some sort of resolution on best practices, we will be evaluating. And so I want to clarify, 4 hours would more than likely be a minimum for the amount of information that juvenile officers change occurs. 16 hours more than likely will be the maximum number of hours. It's not 4 times 4. It is a minimum of 4, potentially offering a class upward of 16. Now, the officers that you see that serve as juvenile officers for the 16 also serve in other primary roles like SRO, okay? And so there is a kind of a standard that's separate from the two. But again, it would just allow officers the opportunity to know they got to go in for an update, and it has to be on a regular basis so that our officers aren't out there without that knowledge for 10 years, but still maintaining a level of belief that they're serving those juveniles in the best manner. Again, it's a deficiency that's been recognized by a number of entities, a number of individuals serving, and this closes that gap, certainly.
Right, and that's an important thing, obviously. You know, when a juvenile is involved in a crime or a victim of a crime, we want to make sure that the officers know how to handle that. When is the implementation date, and then how long do officers that are currently juvenile officers have to complete this mandate?
To the specificity of that, I would ask the representative to handle that, please.
Thank you, Representative. And that's something that we're working on, getting towards an agreement on those parameters right now. So I don't have that. That's why I'm asking to hold on second. And I am saying that we will come back with agreed parameters for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Leader Stewart.
Thank you. And the tenor of this discussion is very different than it was last week, which I very much appreciate. Representative Hirschauer, I want to thank you for bringing this forward. I very much appreciate you're always a champion for children across the state of Illinois. And I know this is a new realm where you are continuing your advocacy for children, so I very much appreciate that. I want to thank all the stakeholders that had concerns when we discussed this last week, the FOPs and everybody for coming together. Like, this is how we do good work. This is how we come up with good results. So I really wanted to put it out there. Thank you, Aletsby, for wanting to work on this. Thank you for all the stakeholders who this is going to impact for wanting to come to the table and come together. Like I felt last week, I didn't have the opportunity to say in committee, but I know that Rep. Hirschauer wants to do well by everybody and is going to take the time, and we can trust her to do that work. So I know she will come back with an amendment, and a lot of work is done. I understand there was a really good meeting just yesterday. So I'm just very impressed with all the work that everybody's doing, and I'm looking forward to watching this go on, and I'm happy that we're letting this conversation continue. I just want to say thank you.
Representative Guerrero-Cuellar.
Thank you, Chair. For this 4 to possibly 16-hour course, who's going to incur the cost of this?
The cost is equally distributed. So obviously, an agency who may put an officer in a seat for 4 hours or up to 16 hours is paying that officer. Many agencies will also have to backfill their absence on the road or whatever other service they provide their department. That's one cost. The training cost itself is gone through the mobile training units. So those are funds that are requested through our agency from the 13 mobile training units throughout the state of Illinois, serving their geographical area. Generally, the determination of what courses their membership desires is done by a survey. Obviously, right now, currently, although juvenile law updates are available, they're not overly popular because, again, we're having to choose. When I say we, law enforcement's having to choose the various trainings that they must attend. This will automatically bring that to a higher standard because of the number of officers throughout the state that serve as juvenile officers. And I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you. That's all, Chair.
Representative Tipsworth.
Thank you. So I just want to back up a minute. So the associations reached out to you and were asking for this additional education, is that correct?
Thank you. The associations we meet with annually, so they annually have conferences, generally working around the school year because so many of them serve inside our school districts, both public and private throughout the state. And so during those conversations, obviously, there's always conversation to build better, be better, prepare more, be more efficient, proficient, everything that's positive for juvenile law. And those that serve the schools and those communities that effectively are affected by juvenile incidents. During those conversations, it was clearly recognized that officers serving as juvenile officers who may have been trained multiple years ago, 10, 12, 15, 20 years ago, and had not been able to successfully complete any juvenile law update, both litigation and officers' experiences with their own agency identified those deficiencies, and those deficiencies have been shared with us. And I think that's primarily why you'll see the support of this bill does come from those organizations and officers within. It also comes from our line officers, those on the streets serving as juvenile officers, firsthand knowledge, and their immediate supervisors, those first-line supervisors. Those are the individuals that you see supporting this.
Okay, I appreciate that. So it sounds like the answer was yes.
I'm sorry, I could have said yes, yes.
I appreciate the explanation, though. All right, just for all of our edification here, what is the primary role of a juvenile officer? How do they fit into a situation?
So although easy to answer, very difficult to answer. The primary role of the juvenile officer is, in fact, to serve the juvenile, which is not always easy to do because you're also serving your department, your community, in the best interests of society, any issues that may arise as a result of the juvenile's actions. And it doesn't always have to be criminal in nature. It can be behavioral disorders that are not criminal in behavior. It can be mental illness, various things, an intervention for an officer who is trained to deal with juveniles, having the ability to communicate, understanding the law, understanding the difference between juvenile law and adult law, if you will, or criminal law. That being said, their primary role is to separate themselves as an officer and serve the juvenile. That's not always easy to do because at the same time, for example, in the same incident, you're still going to have your colleagues serving that law enforcement agency. And so primarily, I would say it is separating yourself as a police officer, still serving that purpose, but ensuring that you're providing the best service to the juvenile as it's probably the most difficult area, one of the most difficult areas.
Okay, so it's safe to say a juvenile officer is an advocate for the juvenile.
That
They
is
are
correct.
not the